Yo,
What it do, man?
can't call it. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Blessed. I made it through another week of work, man. And summertime break will be here before I know it. So there's no need to complain.
Man, you know I already know you can't wait to get home.
Yeah, but you know what's crazy? I still gotta
Yeah,
find another job.
because y'all don't work during the break, right?
Yeah. They didn't pick me up this year for summer school, so it's all good. I ain't
Man,
tripping. Gotta make a way. He always does.
man, he sure does. So what's going on, man? How you been?
I'm good, bro. I'm really good, man. Really, really good. Just doing a lot of soul searching, looking inside myself, man, dealing with some things, man. But that's it. How about yourself? How's your job and everything working out for you?
Man, everything is good on that side. You know, my daughter graduated last week, or this week. She
Hey, that's
graduated
right.
on Monday.
That's right.
So she graduated on Monday. So we had her graduation party last week Saturday or this past Saturday.
Hmm.
So families and friends, people came in from North Carolina, DC. You know the DC area. You got people from here. So definitely want to shout out everybody that came out to help us celebrate her great achievement. I know her mom and myself we were very very proud of all the accomplishments and all the hard work she's put in to
Hmm.
be able to walk across the stage and even to hear her name being called. I started to reflect on when I first met my wife and she was 3 years old, running around my apartment trying to chase my dog that I had at that time. And just to see her now, this grown and working and going to school and, just graduating, it was a blessing. It was a blessing because, when we're young, and well, I shouldn't say young, when we're immature, right? And
Hmm.
we tend to kind of like look at things from that immature perspective, right?
Hmm.
So I never thought about seeing her graduate, walking across the stage. I didn't even know me and her mom was gonna be together that long, So it's just like just to sitting back, seeing all of that, the ups and downs, the hurdles, the obstacles that she's overcome, and you know, her hearing my mouth and me pushing her extra, and she think I'm being hard on her. But I
Hmm.
tell them, I say, hey, I'm hard on you because you're a female, and I never want a man to take advantage of you. I want you to be strong, independent. If a man is in your life, he's there to support and assist, not because
Hmm.
you fully depend on him and you need him to do everything for you, but you are able to, get on that survivor's island and still be able to survive and wait for them to come rescue you on that. If not, then you're still able to live on that off that island, man. So,
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
it, man. That's how
definitely,
that's how it's supposed to go, man.
yeah,
I'm sure y'all did an amazing job. I seen some of the pictures on Facebook and everything, man. So
yeah,
y'all did a great job, man. I love the family, the unity, the camaraderie. To me, is nothing greater than family, man.
yeah, definitely
Nothing is
appreciate.
greater than family, man. So for you to say you have all them people down there celebrating just one life, man, and celebrating her is amazing, bro. And I'm happy for y'all, man. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
definitely appreciate it, man. Definitely appreciate it. So that's what we did this week on Memorial Day, Monday, and then Saturday we had the cookout party because everybody was in town, so we figured to get it done then rather than trying to stretch it out and people have to miss work and all that stuff. So kind of like
Hmm.
got everything done. So yeah, man. Other than that, man, just just
Okay, bro.
enjoying it, just grateful,
So you
man.
playing host down there?
Hey,
Big
man.
top.
Bro, I was on the grill. Food ran out. I had to cook some more. That ran out, bro. It was
Jeez,
crazy.
they ain't
And
try to
all
get you up off the grill like in Bad Boys, did they?
bro, I thought I was gonna be looking over my shoulder for Chef Ramsay. What's it, Chef Gordon? Whatever his name is, Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah.
Boy, I'm trying to tell you, man. She had all like 35, 40 of her friends over here. Man, these teenagers different, man.
Yeah.
They be eating, man. So it
I
was
do.
it was fun. It was fun. It was really good to see people because we living down in Georgia, we don't see friends and family like that. So when people do come down, it's like you know seeing life for the first time because we don't see the people that we so accustomed to seeing. So it was always a good thing to see them and whatnot.
That's what's up, bro.
Yeah, man. Hey, before we get into it, man, welcome to Finding Orders Podcast. We are a live interacting podcast. We are streaming live on Facebook, Instagram. We have our YouTube channel as well as our TikTok channel, all under Finding Orders Podcast. So if you haven't followed us on any of that, continue, follow us so that way you can get the notification when we do come on live, so that way you can be a part of our conversation. If you have any comments, you can drop them in the comment section. We do read them and we do respond to them. So just want to make sure that you guys are aware of that. For all that being said, take a seat. We're going to be here for another hour. We're going to be talking about really something interesting today that I think a lot of us really need to get a better understanding for. I think we've had something like this last year where we kind of like talked about something similar to this, not in this fashion, but I think we kind of like talked a little bit. I may be wrong. Didn't we talk about something like this last year?
You say submissiveness? Right. I think you're right. It might be the exact same topic, really. I don't even know, bro.
Yeah,
but
so I know
older, you get different revelations of certain things, man, and
absolutely
hopefully the presentation this time, because we was raw, so
yeah. Now
it'll be a different presentation, man.
So if you hear, take a note. Now everything that we do talk about, we don't claim to know everything. So this is just our perspective. So it's kind of like a disclaimer. Mm-hmm. This is just our perspective, what the Holy Spirit leads, put on our heart. We don't sit around think about, what we're gonna come up with, what we're gonna say, and how we're gonna say it. It's kind of like something that me and Aaron will have a conversation, and then we say, this would be a good conversation for the podcast to get other people's perspective on it. Maybe it can be a blessing for somebody. So this is just our perspective. We're not claiming to be, doctoring any kind of like information. So this is just our perspective. So if you have your perspective, you can always drop it in the comment section, and that way we can also see, where you're coming from, and that way we can all learn from each other. So definitely want to tell you guys, thank you so much for joining us this Friday evening. With that being said, we are talking about this today: submissive versus subservient. And I'm gonna let Aaron take it away, and I want to hear from where that came from and how did he come about that topic and what kind of like led him to wanted to talk about this today.
Yeah, so it's just everything that you're saying. When people chime in, and like I said, this is just a conversation. So this is iron sharpen iron. So we both going to learn and grow from this conversation, and everybody else that want to chime in and add comments. So, but this came to me because there's a lot of things, especially on the internet, a lot of it relationship wise. And I think before we talked about it, it was more so like the relationship aspect of it. Mm-hmm. But it's different aspects to this perspective. Even just like from church, not just like husband, wives, and different things like that, but even just how you work. When you go to work and you have supervisors and bosses, and like I said, you see these videos online where the guy got fired and he took the forklift and ran through the whole factory. Mm-hmm. And he was like, "Man, you're going to jail," like you're going to jail, and so. It's so many different ways you can take this and just apply it in different areas of your life, right? And so I want to say, let me pull it up real quick. The scripture came from James chapter 4, verse 7, right? It says, "Therefore submit to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you." So when I came up with this, it's like a lot of times we say we submit to God. Right. And it's just asking, like, what does submission to God look like? Right. And so let me see. I brought up, I got to share it. Shoot. Present. Share screen. Here we go. So yeah, when I Google it, it says submission, meaning in the Bible, it says in the Bible, submission generally refers to a voluntary act of surrendering one's will and authority to a higher power or authority, often in the context of God or in human relationships. It's about yielding to another's guidance, respect, and leadership, rather than asserting one's own desire or control. Right. And I would say also one of the reasons why this came up to me is like, I'm really trying to learn and relearn how to be a servant in the church. Because, I want to go back to church, man. And I really want to serve in church. So this is also another reason why this came up to me, is because I'm relearning these things. And like I said, I listen to certain, watch certain clips on the internet and different things like that. And I would tell you, to anybody that is trying to grow, anybody that wants to be something in life, if you are the strongest one in your crew, then your crew is pretty much weak, for real. You know, you cannot be the strongest one. You always have to be underneath somebody or around somebody that you can look up to and learn from, because that's how you're going to grow. I often say that if we knew everything that we supposed to know, then we would be where we want to be already, you know. So we have to learn to submit to like guidance, leadership. We got to submit, like, even if it's like a father-daughter relationship. You know, my daughter just recently was interested in relationships and trying to get advice and different things like that as she's getting older, getting ready to go to college. And I said, well, if you look at it according to the Bible, 1 Corinthians chapter 7, I believe it is, I said, well, your first duty is to learn how to honor God.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't learn how to honor God, you'll never be able to honor a man in a relationship. You know, you'll never be able to honor your husband, because 9 times out of 10, that's what most men would desire anyway. It's not like, you know, and that's what the subservient part comes from a worldly mentality and stuff, especially these so-called, you know, alpha men out here in the world. You know, it's like they telling you they want a wife to be submissive, but are you really wanting your wife to be submissive, or do you want your wife to be subservient to you? Because oftentimes I feel like they blur the lines and they don't understand. So then when you're talking to different women, they blur the lines and how they trying to understand what men mean when they being submissive. Like me personally, I said this before, I don't need anybody to come in here and do like wash my clothes and cook for me and clean my house and do different things like that. I don't need any of that. That to me is like subservient. But what I do realize is, as a man and as a husband, it's my job to give my wife something. You know what I'm saying? I have to present something to her that she can take, and now she can multiply and grow. But you'll never be able to learn any of these lessons, honor, any of those things, if you don't never learn how to be submissive to a leader or guidance or anything like that, right? So I'll pull this one up real quick. In Hebrews chapter 13, here we go. Hebrews chapter 13, starting at 17 verse says, obey those who rule over you and be submissive, for they watch out for your souls as those who must give account. Let them do so with joy and not with grief, for that would be unprofitable for you. So this is just another little key, a little, you know, a little nugget that the word gives us in learning how to be submissive. Like, you're supposed to be doing it with joy. We're not supposed to grieve the people over top of us, because these are the ones that are supposed to look out for us. And so, like you said, like, I just also feel like, you know, and believe that, you know, the way the world do things, they do take biblical concepts and they just twist it because it's not of God, right? So that's what he's saying, like, oh, we're supposed to protect you. We alpha men. Even if you look into the church, I pray over you. You know, at least that's what they're supposed to do. I'm not saying all of them do, but some of them don't do that, you know. But these people that pray over you, that's one of the reasons why, you know, I called my old leaders and people that I sat under not too long ago, and I apologized to them, because as I started learning how to be a leader and I started learning how to do certain things, I'm like, yeah, you guys were really responsible for my soul. You guys really poured into me, and y'all really blessed me. So if I left church or dishonored you and disrespected you in any way, please forgive me, you know, because I want to make sure that I get myself right, because that is part of learning how to submit and resubmit to somebody, you know. So those are just a few nuggets. If you want to jump in and chime in before we get to this other part, whatever like that.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I like exactly, you know, where you're going with the conversation, because I think when we talked about something like this last year, I think one of the biggest thing I took from the conversation is that, one, especially when it comes to the scripture, we do read it and interpret it in our way where it makes it comfortable for us. We don't interpret it in the way that God intended or the Holy Spirit intended for us to really learn from it. We kind of like want to always run with our own ideology or our belief, and we impose it on other people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I learned from last year's conversation, that's leading up into this year's conversation with this similar topic, is the fact that when we talk about being submissive, I think whether it's from the female or the woman or the man perspective, or even from your children perspective,
Mm-hmm.
when we talk about being submissive, we're not talking about slavery, right? A lot of us, when we, especially us men, because I can only talk about us men. Some of us men, some of them want their women to be submissive, but not in the godly way.
Right.
More so in the worldly way, and that's when it becomes like, yo, you controlling, right? Because it's not about what you're saying, it's about how you're saying it, right? So it's like the way you say certain things will drive a person to either reject what you're trying to give them, or take what you're giving them and say, you know what, I don't even want this, right? Because it's the way that it's been presented to them. So it does have, it does have that fine line where we have to look at it from the godly perspective. Because when we do get married and the pastor is preaching, giving the I don't know how to say it, but he's giving you the scriptures. He said, women, be submissive to your husbands, right? And then in that same, I think it's the book of Corinthians, it says, God gave men a very strict line. It said, men, love your wives as I, Christ, love the church. If you love somebody, and if you talk about how God loved the church, God, we are the church. Everybody know that we're not talking about the sanctuary or the physical sanctuary. We're talking about the body. We're talking about the physical body is the sanctuary, right? So for those men who are abusive, who be physically abusing their women or abusing their wives or abusing their children, or even, disrespecting them, not just physical abuse, but also emotional abuse, that's not you loving the church like Christ loved the church.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when we talk about that submissiveness, submissiveness doesn't come with that pain and that anger and that discomfort. Submissiveness is, like you just read, it's something that should be done with joy. And I think a lot of us, we kind of like take that and say, oh, well, I'm the man, so you gotta listen to me. Or the new road that is, I'm the woman, I make more money than you, you have to listen to me. It doesn't. When you read the scripture, you got to read it for how it is. And don't interpret it, try to change it to make it feel comfortable for you. It didn't say whether if you made more money. It didn't say, oh, whether you the breadwinner of the house, so you got to beat the woman down. It don't talk like that. It says, love your wives as I, Christ, love the church. So if you love God, if you know how God loved the church, he sent his son to die for us. So if that's the case, I mean, he's sacrificing his life for us. So you got to sacrifice your life for your wife.
Yeah.
It's if you want him to be submissive and you want him to, pretty much. I'm not saying that's what the scripture is saying, but I'm saying that's pretty much how I would look at it, right? Because if I love somebody, I'm doing everything that I can do to make that person happy. I'm doing everything that I can possibly do to make sure that I'm not hurting that person. I'm doing everything to make sure that when that person talk about me, they're not talking about me in a negative way, like, oh, well, he just abusive. Because women talk, oh man, girl, your husband's so controlling. You can't do this, you can't do that. That's not the type of conversation you want to have. You want to be able to have a conversation where, when we talk, we have these conversations. It's, oh yeah, my wife, there's my coworkers in my new job, right? There is one lady there, she's a really nice person, but she's really open, and she talks about her situation with her significant other. And I was like, well, she going back to the conversation, well, what is your wife's pet peeve? And I said, well, look, if this is the pet peeve, then I'm the luckiest man in the world, because going back to the trash can, she wants me to take the trash out when she wants me to take it out. But me, I'm trying to stuff every little bit of trash I can get before I take it out, take it out to the trash can outside. But that's kind of like my wife's pet peeve. So if that's only, she like, that's it? I'm like, yeah, I told you I'm the luckiest man in the world. That's the only thing she complained about. But it's not the way, my wife don't come to me and beat me down about it. She's like, the trash need to go out. Then I'm like, all right, I'm going to act like I'm taking it out, wait till she go, and I'm going to look for something else I can put in it, right? But then she'll double back, she'll spin the block and come back. She'll start taking it out. All right, I got it. I'm going to take it out. Then like, no, I got it. And I'm like, all right, I'll take it out. And then we're cool, right? But with me, I don't see it as a big problem. She see it as a big problem. But if I was a controlling man or a controlling husband or whatever, I say, man, find somewhere to go. Go sit down somewhere. It's not like that. I understand where she's coming from, and then I tried my best to attend to it. But I come from a village, and I come from a place where we didn't have much to spend a lot. So I try to utilize every little bit that I have just to make sure that I can. Hey, I'm not wasting.
So let me ask you a question, because you said something that I thought was very interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
You said you are willing to do what it takes to make your wife happy. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Is that like really how you see it? Like, you mean everything within reason, though, right?
I mean, it depends on what you consider reasoning. Because what I do to make my wife happy may not be necessarily be what the next man would do.
No, I'm just saying like just like a reasonable request. I say that from the context of this, right? It's the same thing like God. God don't give us everything that we want.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, that's what I'm saying, like within reason. Like, yeah, people, I say like, all right, we want to go to Mexico next week or something like that. But you know, you got certain bills that's due. You can't really do that. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, it's some people out there, like I said, like you said, on the internet, and these so-called influencers and different things like that. I seen somebody post today, it's like, man, if your man don't make enough money, then you need to get a new job or get another job. You don't need another man, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, there's people out there who do believe that. And even in the comments, he was like, well, this is for like broke people. It's all black people, like, because white people don't do this and all this other stuff. It turned to a whole other type of conversation. I don't know. But my thing was like, all right, but there's people out there that believe that. Like, okay, if I'm being quote unquote, I guess, to me, I believe it's just subservient, right? Then the thing is, you're supposed to do whatever like I want done. And there's people out here that believe that, like, you know, like just regular standard relationship people I've met. It's like, well, I want to get married, so you better marry me. You know, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And if my thing is, you start the relationship off, you start the marriage off wrong if you're giving people ultimatums off rip like that, right?
So remember I said it's based off of what you consider within reasonable, right? If you're watching this, and if you are in a relationship, and if you know you got your bills that you got to pay, you got to pay your mortgage, but your significant other saying, well, let's go on this trip, and you know you're gonna come back from this trip and you're gonna struggle, or you may be evicted, then you a fool if you go through with it. That's not being realistically making her happy, because guess what? You're gonna do that, come back home, y'all gonna be miserable because y'all ain't gonna have no home to go into. You know what I'm saying? So you got to be wise. You got to be smart about when we're talking about, when I'm saying, you know, you do whatever you can, you do whatever it takes to keep your spouse happy or your significant other happy. You have to be smart about what you're doing. If I know my wife don't like, you know, me going out and hanging out with the fellas all night, and I know me cutting back on that is going to make her happy, then that's what you do. You cut back and you make her happy. That's within reasonable, you know, expectation. You know, hey, you married this woman, so you want to keep her happy, you know, you got to know what you got to do to keep her happy. But I'm not saying if she tell you, well, we don't have enough money to go rob a bank, and you go rob a bank, well, guess what? You're gonna get locked in. She's gonna probably move on. You know what I'm saying? That's not reasonable expectation. That's just you being a fool for, you know, like I'll give you a prime example. Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter, to me, I feel like he's a fool. And I'm not saying he's a fool because of who he's married to. I'm saying he's a fool because what that person that he's married to already has displayed for him. And I'm not taking a shot at the little bro. I'm not doing that. But I'm just saying, if somebody show you everything from the jump, if somebody show you everything and lay everything out for you in the front, and you've seen it, and everybody's saying the same thing, that's not a rumor. That's truth, right? But you seeing that and you say, you know what, I'm gonna be ignorant. I'm not gonna take heed to these advices that people are telling me. I'm gonna still marry this woman that clearly told me that I'm not even your type. I'm not even her type. I'm gonna still marry her, and she doesn't show you, like, you know, when she's out in the public eye, what she know what she was getting into when she got with you, because you were an athlete. You're gonna be on TV. You're gonna have to do certain things, and she shows that she's disinterested in what you're doing. To me, you got to sit back and really start thinking about, is this the person I can truly build with? But if not, and their expectation is not there, then you got to be smart about how you move with that person. But if you're gonna go into the situation and say, you know what, I'm gonna ignore everything my mom is saying, I'm gonna ignore everything my daddy said, I'm gonna ignore what my teammates are saying, my coaches are saying, people in the social media are saying, and it is clear as day, and you still go for it, you a fool. So anything that comes with that, you deserve it. But that just, but now here goes the question. Do you think that type of woman is a woman that has shown submissiveness before you even got married? Answer is no. She didn't display any of that. And he doesn't look like the type he's going for. He doesn't look like the type he's forcing her to do any of this, right? Because if he would have truly listened to the media, he probably would have been left there a long time ago. But he's still, he's still around her. He married her now. But I hope my son don't marry nobody like that.
Yeah, prayers to them, man. I pray that they find the real relationship or the real meaning of what God intended marriage for, And I pray that they be an example of what God intended marriage to be in this earth. So that's the only thing I'll say about them. The one thing, like me personally, I'm not really a public type person. Mm-hmm. So like people that be like doing the thirst pictures and doing all this other stuff and trying to get attention and like the people in relationships that's doing pranks and stuff like that on each other and doing crazy stuff. Like if you're doing all this for clicks and attention and stuff like that, I'm not the person for you anyway. You know what I'm saying? Because that's just not who I am. But yeah, the one thing that stood out to me about their relationship was that I remember she bought him a watch or something like that after he won the Heisman or something like that. Or after he got drafted, she bought him his watch. He said he didn't want it. I think he said he wanted to take it back, wanted her to take it back or something like that. But that's me. Like I look at it like you're not understanding the person you with, So also I look at it like this, right? What about the people? Like, because this is, I guess it goes, not talking about them because I don't really care to talk about them too much, but their example, right? So when I looked that up, I was like, I wonder if she spent his money to get that watch. That watch was like a Rolex or something like that, like a really expensive watch. Mm-hmm. And then I Googled like her net worth, and she got a pretty penny. Like she got money. But when you
how much is she worth? Do you know?
I can't remember, but she's worth a good amount of money. It's not like it ain't like she don't have money. You know what I'm saying? So I Googled it, like, you know what I'm saying, see how much it was worth. If anybody want to throw it in the chat, that'd be cool. And we'll say it. But my thing was like, what about those people who feel like I make my money, right? Like, mm-hmm. I remember this one time, like you talk to people and stuff like that, right? And the girl was like, well, she needed financial security, right? She needed money and different things like that. But it's like, I guess I'll say I learned this from my brother. I'm having a hard time articulating it. It's in my head. I'm trying to pull it out, right? I'm trying to pull it out. My brother, right? I've learned this from him as far as like being a man, right? Mm-hmm. My brother has not always had his own place. My brother's not always had his own job. My brother's not always been the model, the standard of what society say a man's supposed to be. I'll say that, right? Mm-hmm. The thing I learned from my brother is that my brother said, I never forget that. He said he'll never forget that he's a man. He said he know who he is. Mm-hmm. So even without the standards of what people say or think that what a man is, he never lost track of who he was, even though he didn't have certain things in his life that make people say that they, so for the people that was like, well, I got money, I can't marry somebody unless they have like financial stability and different things like that. But then you want to orchestrate the direction of a relationship. To me, that doesn't give off of characteristics of being submissive. Because now to me, it's like, well, you want to dictate how things go. And it's not to say that this person, if this person is not working on, what I'm saying, like who they trying to be or what they trying to do or this, that, and the other. I can see if there's like laying around not doing anything. But if this person was like really working on themselves and trying to go, there's like only one person that has a plan can get y'all there. You know what I'm saying? And I think for women that get in relationship with men who will give them that position, I feel like, to me personally, they just don't understand who they are right at that moment. You know what I'm saying? Because again, it says you got to give up your own will. you know what I'm saying, and your own desires. You know what I'm saying? But my thing is, why would you give up your own will and your own desires to a person that don't have your best interest in
Interest.
mind and in heart? You know what I'm saying? Like, no, you're supposed to be doing that to somebody that you can trust, somebody that you can know is going to guide you, protect you, lead y'all to a place where y'all, like I said, and it's not even just for like believers, you know what I'm saying? Even if you're a non-believer, because they tell you that Christian relationships and Christian marriages is a higher divorce rate than people that's not believers, right? A statistic at one point in time. I don't know if it's still true today, but there was something that was out there at one point in time. But it's like people that don't even know God knows how to stay together longer. You know what I'm saying? To be happier longer. So when you put those things in position like that, but yet you still want, like, okay, I'm over top of you, but you still gotta protect me. I'm over top of you, and I'm telling you what we're gonna do around here, but then we gotta go and we gotta do a certain thing a certain way. It's like two people can't lead. Somebody gotta have the vision, somebody gotta follow. You know, somebody gotta like know how to get y'all to the place, I guess the promised land, for lack of a better example, to get y'all to that place where y'all desire to be, you know.
Yeah, well,
somebody basically.
Say it again.
Somebody would have to submit to somebody. That's
so you know, when I got married, right? Nobody really gave me the blueprint on being married. You know what I'm saying? As far as like, you know, hey, what is the two advice that I got? One was from my brother and one was from Dana's mom. Dana's mom said, and I remember when I first showed her the ring, she said, "So this is it, huh? The ring, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." She was like, well, you know, I'm gonna tell you this. You know, in marriage, never let the sun rise. She said, never let the sun set and rise on your anger from the day before. Right? Which I thought was very, very powerful, right?
That's biblical, baby.
I didn't even know.
That's biblical. Yes, sir.
So I was like, okay. And then the other advice that my brother told me was, hey, no matter what the situation is, make sure you keep everything that y'all go through in-house. Don't tell me about it. Don't tell nobody about it. Keep it between y'all. Work it out between y'all. Figure it out between y'all, right? That was kind of like his advice. You know what I'm saying? Because there is no blueprint that was given to me as far as like, you know, being submissive and all of that. I didn't look at it from the old school mentality. Women, be submissive to your husbands. I felt like that was the old school mentality that we was coming up where it's kind of like almost forced the women to lay down, you know, whatever you like, kind of like mentality. You know what I'm saying? But for the women to lay down pretty much for the men. I took the mindset and I took the concept of, well, if I'm submissive to my wife, naturally she's going to be submissive to me. If I'm submissive to my wife and I'm listening to my wife, I put it like this. Dana is 99.9% right about everything she's ever said that I've ever gone against. 99.9%. Dana has rarely been wrong. And her telling me, don't do this. I'm going to give you an example. When I said I was going to Alabama, she told me, don't go. I went to the rental place to get the car. I brought it home. She told me again, don't go. I got on the phone with her. I'm about to leave to go pick up my cousin. I'm about to go to Alabama. She said, don't go. Guess what happened when I went to Alabama? I sat there and I said, damn, I should have never came out here. She saw it coming, right? But me not being submissive to her, we wasn't married at that time, but me not being submissive to her, I didn't listen. Now when they tell me, hey man, don't go back to DC, guess what I do? I don't go back to DC. You know why? Because I'm submissive enough in a way where if my wife is telling me not to do something, I'm not going to do it. Mine is the trash can and the trash and all that other stuff. But yeah, that's about it. That's a disclaimer. But anything else she tell me, I don't do.
So you got to hold on to something, right?
I got to hold on to something. But you get what I'm saying? So like the old school mentality was the woman can't tell me nothing because I'm the man. Because it was the mentality that was given based off of somebody's ideology of what submissiveness should look like in a marriage based from the man's perspective. Well, we know a man is not married to himself. He's married to a partner. So if your partner is miserable, well, guess what? You have a miserable house. You get what I'm saying? So it's that fine line where you got to figure out, hey, you know, and it goes both ways. And I'm not saying just one way. It goes both ways. If a woman is supposed to be submissive to her husband, I feel like the husband should also be submissive to the wives too as well. In the sense that you still maintain your respect as the head of the household, and it doesn't make you lesser by listening to your wife. It doesn't make you lesser. It doesn't make you lesser by being submissive towards your wife. It actually makes you more of a complete man. You are a complete man, because when God said love your wife, he didn't say love her to the point where only what you say is right. You gotta. I look at it from a different perspective, that I didn't want to be in a relationship where everything I said she took. I'm not saying give me a lot of resistance, but question the things that you need to question, so that way it doesn't put us in a situation where I'm dragging you with me. You get what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. That's what I mean when I say, hey, you know what? If I tell my wife I'm about to go do this and start this business, and she say, you know what? I don't think financially this business will bring us the income that we're looking for in the next 3 years, because it's not the business that kind of like take off. And if I don't listen to her, and I said, well, I'm a man, I'm gonna go ahead and do it, and it puts us in a financial strain, guess who I affected? Everybody in the household. And I listened to her and figured out, you know what she's saying is true, then maybe I wouldn't make that mistake and put us in that type of situation. You know what I'm saying? Right. So that's what I'm when I say, well, you know, it's okay for a man to be submissive to the wife, because at the end of the day, it shows that we talked about this, man in leadership. A great leader has to also be able to listen. Yes. That is the number one characteristic for a leader. If you're a leader that don't know how to listen, you're the worst leader there is. You matter of fact, you're a dictator. Get up. You a dictator. Right? Because if you're gonna lead, you lead by example. But how you gonna know where you're going if you don't listen to the people that you're leading? If they're telling you, hey, leader, hey man, hold on. The enemy's right there. Don't take us over there. And you say, well, listen, I'm the leader, I'm the general, you follow me. Well, guess what? You go ahead and walk first. We'll follow you. We're gonna wait to see you get your head blown, and we're gonna run the other way. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of like, you know, when we talk about that leadership, we talked about this last year. And I think this is where the conversation came from, men in leadership, and even leadership and what it looked like in marriage, right? So it kind of like have to have that fine line where, you know, I wouldn't want nobody to love me out of fear or respect me out of fear. Respect me out of love, because if you love me, you won't do the things that I'm telling you not to do. If you love me, you're going to make sure that, hey, I'm not going to do nothing to offend this person. And if I do it, I'm not doing it intentionally, because we're going to make mistakes, right? But I don't want nobody to love me out of fear. That's not real love. That's not genuine love.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. All right, so
we got a comment.
Hey, so Monday, my husband and I celebrate our 7th anniversary. Congratulations, Toya. Woohoo, 7 years. A blessed number. Someone asked me, what advice do I have? I said, I still feel like we are fresh in the game, but I often tell people this. I have learned, do what works for your relationship, as long as it really works for the both of you. Part of the issue with marriage is following someone else's rules.
Yep.
I agree with JoJo. We submit to each other. That's awesome, because that is actually a Bible scripture.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to find it. Because it was saying something. It's in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, but I was trying to find it where it was like, it was saying like you got to find out what's pleasing unto your wife and what's pleasing unto your husband. That's like your first duty and your obligations as married people. But as single people, your first duty and your obligations is unto God, which is the same thing I was telling my daughter, and we were speaking on it earlier. I couldn't find it, but yeah, that's what it is. Like, you have to learn how to please one another. And when you are learning how to please one another, that is actually, like you said, part of being submissive. That is part of being submissive, just like you said. But like you said, the old school mentality, that Neanderthalish, piggish type mentality, they'll tell you, like, to me, it's weird. Because when I meet a lot of older dudes, and it's not all of them, because I do know some older dudes that really know how to honor their wife and love their wife properly. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
My thing is, a lot of the old school dudes that I know, to me, it's like they're looking for their mother. right? It's like they looking for, like you said, the subservient part of it, as opposed to finding somebody that is going to work with you, help you, even understanding their flaws and their weaknesses, and trying to cover them, and not just like really cover them in a bad way, but cover them in a way where you're not exposing them. You know what I'm saying? But also trying to help build them, love them through it. You know what I'm saying? But to me, that is something that I feel like you should do before you get married, though. That's me personally. You should. I've never been a type of person to be like, oh, like love at first sight type guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I'm loving you and I'm just falling head over heels in love with you. That happened to me one time in the 9th grade. I ain't even gonna say the girl name. But I sat in the class one day and I looked at her and I swear it was like some Disney stuff, man, where it was like the light was shining on her and seeing the birds and stuff like that. And I really thought I was really gonna be with her. My man Gary know who she is. I ain't telling y'all though. But yeah, I think that's the only time I actually like felt that kind of way about a person. Like when I looked at a person, it was like, oh, she's dreamy. I want to fall in love with her. Like that happened to me one time in 9th grade, and I didn't know any better. But at the same time, it's like, nah, like you can't have that mentality. Like, I want the dinner cooked by the time I get home, right? I want my clothes washed and this and that. I don't get me wrong. I think those are nice things to be able to have in a wife, especially when you look at the virtuous woman or the prudent woman. I think that is in Psalms 31. However, the translation describes it. But my thing is, I know how to cook too. In fact, I like cooking. You know what I'm saying? I know how to clean. I've been doing it like for the last since 2010 on my own by myself, and I was doing it before then, you know what I'm saying, before 2007. I've been doing these things on my own for a while, and I know how to do it. So it's not like I said again, I need somebody to come in and do that, and I rule over top of somebody. You know what I'm saying? But I look at it as, to my point of view, is that your pieces and my pieces supposed to intertwine, right? We're supposed to have a foundation that's built off of mutual goals, admiration, respect, and vision. And that's what we talking about that one time, like, because a lot of people do get married and then they figure out the hard stuff later. And now you in the marriage for like 12, 16 years and y'all can't get on the same page. You know what I'm saying? And y'all fighting and it's just been hell for like the last 8 years. Like, no, like what y'all need to do is sit down and realize that y'all have to go back to the foundation. Y'all got to tear everything down and build it back up. But that requires humility. And like you said, trust, vulnerability, and being willing to submit to one another. It's like, somewhere down the road, I got this thing wrong. Somewhere down the road, we got this thing wrong. Let's try to get it right again. Let's try to figure out the things that we did that were good. Let's figure out some of the things that we did that were bad. Try to discard the things that were bad and try to build back up on the things that we did good and try to go in that direction. But I think people run into a brick wall when they don't have open and honest communications, when you don't somebody's vision, when you don't understand somebody's vision. Because I'll be honest, it's going to be hard for me to ever commit to anybody who don't understand my vision, right? Or where God is calling me to be or where I'm going. And I would hope that the person that see themselves with me can see the man that I was created to be, understand the man that I'm supposed to be, and help me get in that direction, as well as me loving on her, seeing her, pouring into her, building up on her, challenging her, not her womanhood, but challenging her to continue to be the great woman that God called her to be. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's how that's supposed to work and intertwine with one another. But when you have a plan and the person have a plan and y'all just want to get together just because y'all just got feelings, and I tell you, like the great prophet Tina Turner, what's love got to do with it?
Yeah, I mean, to me, I definitely agree with you, especially with also Miss Latoya, right? I definitely agree with her because you got to do what works for both of you guys. You know what I'm saying? That's definitely one. because what works for me and Dana necessarily might not work for somebody else, or what worked for them would not necessarily work for me and Dana, right? But you got to find that fine line between you guys and see what works for you guys. But it should go both ways. You know what I'm saying? Being submissive or being subservient versus being subservient. Being submissive is a two-way street. You can't have one without the other, because at the end of the day, it's just going to be one-sided. It's going to be miserable. You know what I'm saying? And I can't. Let me tell you something. I remember when my son, was kind of like, son to play football, and I'm yelling at him, and I'm yelling at him, and I'm yelling at him, and I'm yelling at him. And one day, one of his old teammates, who I call my nephew, I call him the professional. His name is DJ. Real good football player. He's only 11. He's a year younger than my son. Him and his dad was coming up to watch my son play a scrimmage. Not even a real game, a scrimmage.
Mm-hmm.
And he was walking up, and he was coming up, and he got to the fence, and all he saw was just me yelling at E. Not because he did anything wrong, because he was running. They had him at running back. He ran the ball pretty well. Instead of him cutting outside, he bounced it inside. So I was drilling him, right? So when he came up there, he was like, he told his dad, he said, why is Mr. Kojo yelling at Ezra like that? He reminds me of the old coach that he was coached under at Tucker. Both of them was coached under the same coach on the same team. He was like, man, if that's how he's going to be yelling at Ezra, then I don't want to come see Ezra play no game if he's on the coaching staff.
Wow.
Mind you, this kid is only 10 years old.
Wow.
Maybe 9 turning 10, because his birthday hadn't came yet. So he was turning 10, because DJ just turned 11. So he had just turned 10. Now, when I talk about being submissive, and when we talk about being submissive have no age limit. There is no age limit requirement saying you only be submissive to 30-year-olds. So there's no age limit. When we talk about reading the Bible, when we talk about reading the scripture, we talking about reading it in the aspect that it applies to everything, everybody. Nobody's excluded. The Bible doesn't say only listen to adults. Because if that's the case, when King Jehoshaphat and the children of Israel, when it was facing those the Amorites, and they had to go to war, the Bible said the Spirit of God spoke through the little child after they had fasted for 3 days. Why didn't they listen? Why would they, hey, little boy, shut up? But they listened to him. Mm-hmm. They didn't look at his age and say, oh, this ain't coming from God. So you got to look at it and say, you know what? You have to respect all people, whether they're old, in between, or underneath. You got to listen to them. So you know what I did? When his dad told me that after the game was over, I immediately, went to my son and said, I apologize. 2, I said, I can't coach you no more, because I don't know how to separate being a dad from being a coach. And because of that, I can't do that no more. I then went to DJ and I said, yo, I apologize for letting you to see that. I submitted myself to that 10-year-old boy and said, you know what? I am sorry that you had to see that. I would never do that again. Submissiveness comes with no pride. You cannot be looking for being, somebody to respect you, and you prideful and you telling somebody else to be submissive. It don't go that way. It's a two-way street. You weren't heard to bow down to you. When you see your queen, you bow down to your queen too. When you want her to rub your feet, well, guess what? When you see her coming home from work, you rub her feet. Whether she got corns or not, you got corns too. She rubbing your feet, you rub them corns too, right? But it just go both ways. It's no age limit, and it's no specific qualifications that you have to say that, hey, you can only be submissive to adults. Right. But that's just to give you an idea. When we talk about being submissive, I had to be submissive and come down my so-called high horse to meet that young man at that level and say, you know what, you are right and I am wrong. That is pure submissiveness to his knowledge and him correcting me as a parent and as a coach. Mm-hmm. And we're not even talking about in the marriage. That's just football. A little boy seeing me yelling at his friend the way that I'm yelling at him, he said, hold on, this ain't how it's supposed to be. Now, right. I could have been an ignorant adult and say, well, you a little boy. You don't tell me what to do. If that's how your son feels, then that's how your son feels. No, to this day, I tell Davon, I say, hey, because of you, I was able to enjoy watching Ezra play football last year. And guess what? Last year, when I stepped down as coaching my son, was the best damn year my son ever played football.
Wow. That's what's
so
up.
You know what I'm saying? And that's me being submissive to his wisdom. And I had to say, you know what? You're absolutely right. So, when we talk about that, it goes to your kids too. It's parents in relationships now with kids where they just talk to their kids any kind of way. I'm guilty for that. Me and Desi get into it. I get into it with Destiny. But then when I sit down and think about it, I go back to Desi. I say, hey, man, I was wrong. I'm sorry. You said this and I said this, but I should have been more of an adult and not say it like this back towards you. So it goes back. It goes all the way through your household. You cannot expect to have a peaceful household or a complete household if you the man and all you think everybody's supposed to be submissive to. You might as well just call yourself a dictator. And guess what? Once you do that, United States is going to sanction you.
That's what's your house, man. You put terrorists on your house.
You're a terrorist. They're going to put terroristic charges on you and boom, you gone. They're going to wipe you off on the face of the earth like they did Gaddafi. But you got to be submissive. You got to be submissive. And it goes both ways, man.
Right. I'm going to put this definition up here so everybody can see it according to Google. It says subservient is prepared to obey others unquestionably.
Yep.
Unquestionably. And it's funny because I don't think anybody does that. You know what I'm saying? So even at work, the disciples questioned Jesus. You know what I'm saying? So to sit back and say, like, I want you to do what I say with no questions asked, like, that's kind of crazy when people who believe in God for years sometimes still hesitate. You know what I'm saying? Like listening to God when he tell them to do something. And I ain't talking about like they don't do it. I mean, but sometimes there's a slight hesitation. So for you as a man or as a person to sit back and say, because me personally, I work in a school system. I see a lot of these unstable mothers. You know what I'm saying? They yelling at their kids and saying stuff like that. But it's like I said, like even as an educator, I've learned to, like you said, listen and submit myself to kids because you want to pull out what's best in them. That's the whole purpose of that. Like I want to draw out and pull out what's best in you. I'm not going to sit back and just, hey, sit down because I told you to sit down. I'll be in them classrooms too. Like, hey, it's boring in here. I tell them, I pull them out. Hey, man, I know you bored. I know you bored. Like most of these kids, like they catch on quick. They smart. So like you said, it's not just like you said, it's not just a relationship thing. It's a adult to child thing. Like you said, it's a principal to staff thing, a pastor. But I went to the church one time, man. I keep forgetting the name. I think I know the name of it, but I don't even want to give him no credit. But anybody knows it's kind of not hard not to know because he named his church after himself. And I thought that was crazy. Like you named the church after you. Okay, cool. That's kind of arrogant, but okay. But I was in there. My daughter had to sing for her school, and we went down there. And the guy was in there and said, "Man, we don't need people coming in here with these ideas or advice. We need people coming here and just work." Like basically saying, "Just shut up and work." And I was like, "Oh, that's subservient." I didn't know that until years later. You know what I'm saying? But that's what I realized. Like, oh, you want subservient people. You want somebody that's going to say, when you say jump, like you said, and Coming to America, how high? How high? Whatever you like. You know what I'm saying? But I don't understand the mindset in that because my thing is I would rather teach and I would help. I would rather grow people. I would rather love on people because what they say, with love have I drawn thee. When you sit up there and saying, like, I expect you and I want you to do what I say do with no questions asked, to me is a tall task when it goes against human nature in itself. Like that goes against human nature in itself. So I don't really know, man. I think that's tough.
I think we have a comment here from Vaughn.
Yeah, he jumped in a couple times. Let me see. Zero pride, all about Jesus, and yes, your queen.
And then what did he say? He said,
"Hey man, I ain't gonna try to tell him myself on here, man. But as long as you aren't arguing when it comes to Jesus, we must emulate him.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely." And he also says, "We are subservient people. God gave us free will. We can do whatever we want. Yeah, that's the opposite. Oh yeah, we aren't subservient people. Yes, exactly. We can do whatever we want. Correct. Thank you. It's whom do we choose to serve? Pleasure is dead to Jesus following. Jesus is following. Never forget Colossians 3 and 5. All right, awesome, man. Thank you, Vaughn. Appreciate you. Yeah. Yeah, we're not subservient. He gave us free will. You're right.
Yeah.
To sit back, that's a great point. That is an amazing point. Yeah. So to sit back and say that I want somebody to do what I tell you to do when God gave us free will, that in itself is the logic.
That's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm saying. Like, hey, I'm gonna take a shot at my own people. So you know these Ghanaians, these old man got old Ghanaians, right? That like my daddy and them age type of Ghanaian. When we was coming up, it was like just straight slavery. Yeah. I'm a slave in my own household. Like, do this. Like, don't talk back. Do this. Everything you say is this. Everything, bro. That wasn't a good household. It wasn't a good household. That's not a good feeling. My dad used to. I think I've said this before. When we were kids, like my son's age, 12, and we used to see our daddy car pulling up. We used to scatter like roaches, bro. You know why? Because we knew the slave master was coming to the house. You get what I'm saying? No. That's us loving our dad out of fear. We didn't love our dad because we love our dad. We love him because we were scared of him. You know what I'm saying? So that's not what God meant to have that household of being a submissive household. Because at the end of the day, like Vaughn just pointed out, God could have forced us to serve him. He said, do whatever you want to do. I've given you this life. Do whatever you want to do. The only thing that I'm going to tell you is that there has to be an account. When I come back, I have to question you. What did you do with that freedom that I gave you? That's it.
Right.
You want to build, remember the Tower of Babel? Build it as high as you want. I'm going to come and knock it down, but I'm going to ask you why you built it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, even us as believers, we're not forced to serve God. So if we're not forced to serve God, how you going to tell me to make sure your food is ready when you come home? Like I do it because I want to do it.
But you know what's crazy?
I love you to do it.
I'm gonna tell you what's crazy to me. What's crazy to me is the people who grew up like that, like you said, right? And still turned out to be the exact same way. Like, for instance, I remember people telling stories about my grandfather. They said my grandfather was like that. My grandfather pulled up on the block, the whole neighborhood scattered. Not just his kids, he said the whole neighborhood scattered because my grandfather was like that, right? But then you get older, and I'm not saying this was my mom because my mom was like, if I was looking at my grandfather, my mother probably was like the complete opposite of him, really. But I would say like it's other people that grew up in that neighborhood and in that time frame and different things like that who knew my grandfather, who turned out to be the same way like that towards their kids and stuff like that. But my thing is like, y'all understood what it was like to go through that. You know what I'm saying? Understood that fear. So why would you want to reproduce and replicate that fear? You know what I'm saying? And that's the one thing, like, don't get me wrong. I look at some of the things like my stepfather told me, right? I say, my stepfather had great intentions. Maybe not like the perfect execution, but he was learning how to be a father, right? So you don't hold none of that stuff against him. And like you said, you just take the things that you can take and you try to apply it in a different way. And what I often tell people is that I just try to become the father that I always just desired, right? I became the father that I wanted to see. You know what I'm saying? I try to be that to my daughter. But you realize there were some things that you did learn that you can take from that to say, okay, I understood why they did that. Okay, now because I remember telling my daughter, I want to say it was like last year. So I was like, you're in a season where you have to learn how to just listen. You have to just do what I asked you to do. I'm not telling you to be subservient because if she don't do it, you're going to learn the lesson behind it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to flip my wig and this, that, and the other. What I'm telling you is your obedience in this season is dependent upon your blessings and you avoiding certain things, right? Go out there and, do what you want to do and not listen to me if you want to. You're the one that's going to have to suffer the consequences for that, not me. You know what I'm saying? I thank God because my daughter's never been like one of those type of people who's like, I want to learn the hard way. Some things, she want to go out and find out and think that she I think that's just the natural progress of kids thinking that they know more than us. But then when you find out and you learn, it's like, what they say, the F around to find out.
Yeah.
Find out. But it's only but so many times, like even with God, you're going to keep, like, he'll take you back. We say this righteous fall 77, but that's what I'm saying. That's the whole thing about even that master or dictator mentality, is to sit back and say, well, guess what? You did that, now you figure it out. You ain't want to listen to me, you figure it out. No, he said the just man falls 7 times, get back up. How many times are you going to forgive your brother? 77 times 7. That's how many times that you're supposed to even forgive people. So if I'm not going to do that, if God's willing to do that for me, why would I do that to my own daughter?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to beat you into submission. I'm going to let life teach you what you need to learn so that you realize that if I'm saying something to you, you're going to have to learn it. I'm not going to like try to be a dictator and get mad at the weird part about it is some of these parents raise kids that's a direct reflection of who they are, and they don't like what they see. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, snap. Like, the weird part about it is that pride and ego blinds you from that. Pride and ego blinds you from seeing, oh, snap, this person is just like me. And I ain't really like who I was. You know what I'm saying? So it's a tricky thing, man, when you sit back and you have that that dictator, you wanting subservient, people be subservient to you mentality. Like, that's actually like a borderline narcissist. If you read the definition of narcissism, you know what I'm saying? Like, that just disagree with you, people that don't want to do what you ask them to do, and you feel some kind of way. Like, you might have a mental health disorder. It's a mental disorder. You probably got something wrong with you. You might need to get checked out for real.
Yeah. What's your final notice for today?
Oh man, it's a good one. I was so busy studying. I would say my final notice for today would be just learn how to learn and relearn how to be submissive and learn what submissive is, because that's what I'm learning. Every great leader, like you said, every great leader is going to learn how to follow. It doesn't say that you following any and everybody or following people behind you, because God does have a divine order, right? Man is overwhelmed. But at the same time, it's not to say, again, we dictators and different things like that. We're supposed to be helpmeets. But at the same time, my thing is you have to learn and really understand the difference between what submissiveness is. You can't have your own ideas and your own goals and relationships. You can't have your own like you're not gonna go on your job, or you're not gonna go to Burger King and McDonald's and tell them like, nah, bro, I'm cooking the burgers this way today. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, I'm frying these fries this way today. It don't work that way. You know what I'm saying? So I would say that we did this topic and then so that people could be more aware and hope that they really dig into and understand what that actually looks like. Because I did put up Romans chapter 12. If anybody want to write that down, if y'all taking notes, 12 and 1 and 2. And it says, which is your reasonable service. Your reasonable service is just that, just submissiveness to God. Like, so that was just one example, because I was going to go into that and say, that is your reasonable service unto God, was like renewing your mind and loving God. And what it says in Romans chapter 12, that is your reasonable service. That's one of the things you can do to actually show God your submissiveness.
Before I get to mine, I wanted to post what Vaughn was saying. Vaughn was saying, have to break this generational curse. I think when we was talking about the old way mentality, as far as like the ideology and practices when it came to relationships. And then he says, it's too much more being a follower. There's so much more to being a follower of Jesus. We need to put to death our former self, which is absolutely true. Like, we got to get away from that old mentality and how we used to live, and try to transform into this new life that God has given us, be able to be a blessing to others. And then he said, I would say, teach the word of God and let God water us. He makes it grow. He says, look at me, 44, finally getting my faith stronger. It's never too late, bro. Never, ever too late. And then his other comment said, I would say, continue to renew your mind. That's it.
Yep.
Pray daily, genuine prayer. He said, not what FB or IG or YouTube says. The glory of Jesus is he said what the glory is for Jesus, not us, which is true. And then he said his last comment that he has was, he says, I would say continue to renew your mind. I think, is that the same one that I just showed? This is the same one. This one says, if people just remember we are created from dirt, then you can maybe understand. You're absolutely right.
Let me show this. Let me show the scripture that go with that, because I just pulled it up.
Okay.
We jump in that if you don't mind. And it's Romans 12 and 1 and 2. It says, beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies, there you go, a living sacrifice, wholly acceptable to God, which is your reasonable service. So that's it right there. He says, you submitting yourself unto God, and not just God, like you said, your family and different things like that, because that's just the structure. We're doing it to him, and we're learning how to buffet our bodies and things like that unto him, so that we can be presenting ourselves to be better husbands, better fathers, better co-workers, and better leaders, right? It says, but we got to present our bodies a living sacrifice, wholly acceptable to God. So when we do that stuff with God, and we get those things with God in order and lined up right, we get the other things in order too.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, man. Thank you so much, Von, for jumping in, man. Thank you so much for watching it, man. Definitely appreciate you. My final notice is that, man, take every opportunity to make every day that you have a great one, man. Because God has given us the opportunity to be amongst the living. We got to do our very best to live it in the right way. I know people say, live your life, live it to the fullest. You're right, but you want to live it the right way too, though. You don't want to live it how you want to live it and think that you ain't got no question waiting for you to be answered. So, just live it right. Keep God first, and all things will fall under your feet, man.
Find yourself in a Rico case with some baby oil.
Man, what? Man, my man look like he about 60 years old since he been in that thing, man.
Hey. You can count that paper if you want.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in, man. Get with us next week. You guys have a blessed weekend. Stay safe. And we definitely look forward to speaking to you guys and interacting with y'all on our next episode, man.
Right.
All right, bye.
Great week, man. Love y'all.